The soft hum of the suburban night wrapped around Nathan Layton as he sat in his car outside their home, the faint glow of the porch light illuminating the house he'd spent years trying to make a sanctuary. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, as he stared at the front door. Inside, it was supposed to be warmth, love, stability, a stark contrast to the brewing storm roiling inside him. But recent feelings of trust shattered into fragments after he found an unfamiliar scent lingering on Veronica's clothing. A scent too sweet and too foreign to belong in their life. Tonight, that scent might devour the last flicker of trust he harbored. Nathan was not a stranger to confrontations. He was a man who thrived on challenges. His career in real estate depended on his aggressive charm. An assertive personality often helped him win deals and crush competitors. He reveled in the thrill of dominating others. Perhaps that was a strength turned into a crutch. His friends often said he was tenacious. Some even called him ruthless. But he always maintained a certain layer of respectability, a balance in the chaotic dance of human interactions. But what if that same ruthlessness turned inward? Veronica had been his anchor, the one person who made all those late nights and early mornings feel worthwhile. Their marriage was painted with sweet memories, the laughter shared over home-cooked meals, the planning of trips, talks about their future children. But lately, she had come home late, her eyes a mix of excitement and guilt. He noticed the small habits slipping into her demeanor, the tendency to quickly silence her phone when he entered a room, the sudden bursts of energy that felt disjointed. Instinctively, he felt nauseous. The weight of potential betrayal coiled like a viper in his stomach. As he watched, the front door opened and out stepped Veronica, her figure silhouetted against the warm light inside. She paused at the bottom step, her phone pressed to her ear, exchanging sweet words that pierced like daggers into Nathan's heart. "Oh, Jason, I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Just you wait. I'm not leaving you, but I'm also not giving up my AP. It's time you accepted reality." The last sentence lingered in the air, like rancid smoke. Nathan's world collapsed in an instant. The rush of betrayal flooded over him, overwhelming and suffocating, stealing his breath, but no tears came. Only white-hot rage ignited in his core. Veronica had been unfaithful, committing a sacrilege that would not be forgiven. Jason, the man who had stolen their intimacy, was about to learn Nathan's wrath. He opened the car door with a controlled slowness, the sound eerily loud in the silent night. Each step toward the door roiled with dark intent. He stepped inside without knocking. This was his home, after all. The air inside was thick with tension, and Nathan's presence turned the mundane into something electric. Veronica spun around, surprise bursting from her mouth like a broken dam. "Nathan, you shouldn't be home yet." "Yet here I am," he snarled, dense with disdain. "Why don't you tell me more about your AP?" Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape, a way to dodge this impending storm. She refused to make eye contact. He pressed on, his voice a low crawl. "What were you thinking? What kind of pathetic creature needs two lives?" But Nathan was not looking for an explanation. He sought retribution. The brittle fracture in his heart had transformed into unyielding steel. The idea of revenge almost beckoned with a haunting allure. The lights flickered above them, casting long shadows that danced ominously, mirroring the wild turmoil in his mind. Veronica's facade of calm crumbled under the weight of his gaze. It's not what it looks like," she stammered, as if words could shield her from the truth buried deep in their shared life. "I didn't mean to hurt you. This is complicated." "Complicated?" he roared. His voice raged like a tempest. "You have no idea what complicated is. You could have tried talking to me, but you decided to betray everything." The shock in her eyes transformed quickly into irritation. But Nathan had little patience for her pretense. He took a step closer, his height towering over her as he felt the power shift in his favor. Faced with a choice, Nathan zeroed in solely on her acceptance of reality. "You've made your bed, Veronica. Now it's time to lie in it. After all, everyone is going to know about your precious Jason." The words hung between them, dripping with venom. He had seen it in her eyes. The panic, the realization that her life was about to shatter under its own weight. The stakes were no longer about marriage, but every promise broken. With a final glare, he turned and walked away, the echoes of their broken trust trailing behind him like a ghost. But Nathan was no longer the man who would simply shrink away. Vengeance would be his path to survival. In that moment, a fire ignited within him, relentless and destructive, yet purifying in its intensity. He would take pleasure in dismantling the illusion Veronica had built, brick by deceitful brick, because he was done being the victim. And he was not leaving her. No, he was simply removing her grip on everything that lived and breathed between them. That night marked the turning of the tides, and somewhere under the weight of 1,000 unfiltered memories, Nathan shed the last remnants of his naive past. The old Nathan would never return. The following days descended into chaos for Nathan. He threw himself into meticulous planning, every interaction and move strategic. He couldn't allow his emotions to cloud his judgment. This was about action, not reaction. He meticulously documented everything: Veronica's expenses, her phone records, any evidence of her affair with Jason. Each piece of information stacked up like bricks in a wall, tightening his grip on the situation. He discovered that Veronica had been using their joint credit card for lavish dinners and hotel stays, intimate moments created with Jason at the expense of their shared lives. Digging deeper, Nathan found that she had been siphoning off their savings and even using money intended for their daughter's future. The realization churned his stomach. It was an attack not just on him, but on the very existence they built together. Each transaction was a betrayal, a punch in the gut. His anger was no longer just a surging heat. It was a cold fire, burning with precision. When he finally confronted her, it would be with ammunition that would obliterate her defenses and cast her out into the cold, unforgiving night. No one would be able to deny the truth. He would make sure of it. But vengeance wouldn't merely be confined to the emotional. He needed to dismantle her life systematically. Nathan contacted a divorce attorney, sharp and efficient, ready to unravel the tightly woven threads of their shared existence. Their initial meeting was a stark reminder of the grim road ahead. The attorney, a woman named Alice, was formidable. "We're aiming for full custody and asset division," she stated flatly, her glasses perched at the tip of her nose. "I'll help you isolate every infraction she's led against you and the family." The thought of losing his daughter, Melissa, propelled Nathan further into his mission. As Alice laid out the best strategies for their case, he nodded, absorbing each detail, fueled by righteous fury. This was no longer just about Veronica. It was about reclaiming his future, his peace, and ensuring that Melissa would not be raised in a home where loyalty was just a whistle in the wind. Weeks passed, each filled with meticulous planning and recording of evidence. He secured a recording of Veronica's innocuous calls with Jason, captured during a time he had purposefully left the house early to afford her the privacy her deceit required. Hearing her laughter, her easy banter with another man, lit a fire under him that made him more determined. There, through the earphones, he could hear the steadiness of Jason's voice urging her. "You don't need him anymore. When are you going to just tell him?" "That's easy for you to say," she quipped back. "I can't just drop everything. He's good for me in some ways, but I can't leave him empty-handed either." The bitter irony burned, for he was far from empty-handed. He was armed with knowledge, revenge, brewing in the cauldron of his heart. One late morning, Nathan stood in the local coffee shop where he'd often seen Veronica and Jason giggling over cups of caramel macchiatos. He clenched his jaw, a mixture of rage and dark excitement bubbling within him as the barista handed him a steaming mug. Determination coursed through him. Everything was about to reach a boiling point. His plan was laid out. It was time to ignite the match and watch the fire erupt. Nathan decided to set a trap that would reveal the depths of her betrayal publicly. He arranged a party at their home unknowing to her, inviting close friends, family, and all those who cared about their family image. He intended to create an environment that would cement Veronica's downfall, not only to him, but everyone they associated with. The ground would tremble beneath her deceit. The day of the party finally arrived, buzzing with decor and laughter filling the house. Nathan played the gracious host, easing into conversations, laughing with friends as if nothing were amiss, while the tension coiled tighter behind his polite smile. He felt alive, ignited, his heart thrumming in anticipation. The atmosphere was joyous, temporary bliss unwittingly masking the impending storm. When Veronica entered, she was struck by the crowd's warmth, blissfully unaware that the shifting tide had already begun. Every smile cast in her direction felt like a dagger, and she wore her mask flawlessly, oblivious to Nathan's scheming. He welcomed her, layering his voice with feigned affection. "Welcome back home, babe. You've got a lot to catch up on." The moment's stillness wrapped the room. Nathan glanced toward the decorated corner where a projector was running silently. It was a compilation of memories they once cherished, moments of joy peppered with poignancy. But there was a twist. He had infused it with the damning evidence of her betrayal. Video snippets of her calls with Jason, images of restaurant bills signed with her insipid signature, and most importantly, text messages highlighting her lack of remorse. As the images flickered against the wall, her face paled, disbelief followed by horror anchoring her feet to the floor. Gasps echoed around the room, the sounds of the customary celebration morphing into a cacophony of shock and silence. Nathan's heart galloped in triumph as he watched her world crumble with each image. "Surprise," Nathan announced, a wolfish grin stretching across his face. He watched the realization seep into their friends' faces, the awakening of betrayal pitifully evident. "Veronica, meet the reality of your decisions." The truth dripped like venom from his lips, cutting deeply, as the room fell into a heavy murmur. The tension revolved on a pivot, a potent blend of shock and revulsion, focusing on Veronica like a noose tightening around her throat. The charade ended. There were no words, only the exposure of her treachery stood before the crowd, leaving her desperately clutching at the shreds of her dignity. Nathan felt a rush of exhilaration, her defiance crashing against the weight of his justice. Disgraced, Veronica attempted to save face, her pleas whispered too late. "Nathan, it's not what you think. You've twisted everything." But he simply shook his head, a dangerous smile curving his lips as the atmosphere thickened with judgment. Friends and relatives partitioning themselves from her, turning their backs to the embodiment of betrayal. Jason, who had appeared uninvited and naively expecting a reunion of sorts, stood frozen, his face paling beneath the dread of public acknowledgement. The atmosphere twisted painfully, and as Nathan's gaze shifted to him, he watched the realization dawn. Jason was nothing more than a pawn in a game he didn't know he was playing. Nathan took silence as a cue. "Feel the magnitude of your choices, Jason." The tension thickened. Once allies, now both scapegoats, caught in a web they spun together, muttering apologies and regrets. But Nathan had crafted a perfect storm, stripping away facades until only raw, ugly reality remained. Veronica, her face ashen and trembling, found her voice only to confront him. "How could you do this to me?" "It's what you've already done to us that matters," he replied bitterly. "You chose your path." Each pulse of adrenaline surged through him, heightened by her discovery of utter defeat. Nathan reveled in this fleeting moment, the sweet sensation of vindication, a final act of reclaiming what was lost. He turned on his heels, leaving Veronica standing amidst the judgments and murmurs, exposed and alone. This was his triumph, but more, the arduous path to reclaiming his dignity had only just begun. The fallout from Nathan's public reveal was swift and merciless. A week after the party, Veronica's world had effectively collapsed around her. Gossip traveled like wildfire through their tight-knit community. Friends who once laughed with her now treated her like a pariah, their laughter echoing hollowly in her mind. Jason, having shown up to offer support, had retreated into the shadows, his reputation tarnished irreparably alongside her own. The silence at home was deafening. Nathan, on the other hand, experienced the bittersweet taste of victory. He was now viewed as the wronged husband, the betrayed partner. The sympathy poured in from colleagues and longtime friends, reinforcing his position in their social hierarchy. They rallied around him, offering assurances that the community was behind him, a network of resilience and support. Yet, it was not mere sympathy he hungered for. It was justice that sharpened his resolve, a burning desire to dismantle what remained of Veronica's life. To achieve that, he escalated his legal actions. Talented as she was in crafting illusions, Veronica proved to be less sharp in financial matters. Alice, his attorney, dissected the evidence he provided with meticulous precision. The discovery process unveiled even more betrayals hidden between the lines. Money had gone missing, substantial amounts that could fuel a family crisis, funds now traced to rendezvous, and luxuries enjoyed, while Nathan slaved away building a life they had promised to share. Nathan stood before Alice in her office, a fortress of legal documents spread across the table like battle plans. "We can argue for punitive damages," she proposed, glancing knowingly at him. "Your wife's actions have not just breached your trust, but wasted your resources. The court might see this as exacerbating your emotional distress." Each word rang in his mind. He shifted in his seat, feeling a surge of adrenaline as he considered their strategy. "Do it. I want to make it clear what happens when someone betrays another without warning." The bitterness towards Veronica crystallized into something tangible. It felt empowering, a chance to fight back against the shadow she had cast over his existence. Back at home, Nathan's heart felt heavy at the thought of his daughter engaged in this mess. Melissa was the only light in his life, and it broke him to see the tumult around her. She had begun to sense the shifting tides. Children have an innate perception of uncontrollable energies around them, and the weight of a falling marriage seeped through the cracks of their once happy household. Nathan knew in this chaos, he had to be the anchor for her, a beacon of strength amidst the emotional wreckage. The weekend after the barrage of mutual friends merely bantered about the shame and scandal, Nathan decided to take Melissa to their favorite escape, the local zoo. It was a place where carefree laughter swept the gloom aside, if only for a moment. As they strolled past the animal enclosures, Nathan felt a rare flicker of peace. The sweeping joy on Melissa's face reminded him of what he was fighting for. Yet, the guilt gnawed at him as he wondered how deeply Veronica's betrayal would scar their daughter. "Dad," Melissa asked, glancing up at him, her large eyes filled with innocence, "why is everyone talking about Mom?" It felt like a dagger to his heart. An innocent child, navigating the turbulent waters of adult failings. The weight of the world inflated each syllable as he replied, "Sometimes people make choices that hurt others. It's not your fault, sweetheart." Melissa frowned, a soft, contemplative scowl settling on her face, before she reached out to clutch his hand. "Will we still see Mom? I miss her." "Let's just take this one day at a time," Nathan said, forcing a smile. "For now, let's focus on the animals. There's so much to see." That afternoon, while watching the vibrant chaos of monkeys swinging through trees and squawking parakeets fluttering about, the weight of his recent actions felt strangely lighter. He realized that no matter how steep the climb towards justice was, he would turn every corner to secure a future filled with honesty and compassion, shielding Melissa from the malignancy of betrayal. Yet, back at home, reality struck again. The legal proceedings ramped up, each meeting with Alice digging deeper into the murky waters of financial entanglements. Nathan's senses sharpened into an unyielding focus. During one afternoon consultation, she laid out the financial mess with chilling clarity. "Your wife tapped into funds meant for Melissa's education and put them against her own personal debts," Alice explained, flipping through documents. "This could work in your favor during the divorce hearing. We can push for maximum compensation based on her mismanagement." His blood boiled at the mere thought. Veronica's blatant disregard for their daughter's future became the fuel for his resolve. He had not only lost a partner, but also faced a foe who would stop at nothing to protect her own privilege at the expense of everything they built together. "I want her to answer for that," he declared, shocking even himself with the intensity lacing his words. "I want her to face the truth about what she's doing, how it threatens her daughter's future." The day of the court hearing arrived. The air in the large, wood-paneled courtroom felt thick with the tension of unspoken words. Nathan sat straight, focused, utterly determined, the mask of a man resolute and standing his ground. Friends filled the benches for support, casting sympathetic glances in his direction. Nevertheless, Nathan felt the gravity of the moment. Veronica entered, dressed in business attire that seemed to conceal the turmoil behind her eyes. Their gazes met with simmering hostility, each containing fragments of their shared past, the happy memories, distorted laughter, and the betrayal that lingered like a curse between them. It would end here, purged from the echoes of their life. The proceedings unfolded with a calculated precision. Nathan detailed how her altercation with Jason had led to financial calamity that would burden Melissa. "She didn't just lose my trust, she jeopardized the financial resources meant for our child's growth," he exclaimed, each word imbued with a measured strength. As Veronica took the stand, Nathan watched, rapt and expectant, waiting for the fabric of her deceit to unravel. Her defense spun tales of her innocence, an elaborate dance of denial. But Nathan was prepared for this. "Did you ever allow our daughter to see you and Jason?" he probed, locking onto her with a ferocity that made her flinch. "While you took her money to fund your rendezvous, were you thinking about what kind of mother you wanted to be?" The atmosphere crackled with tension, and even the judge shifted in her seat, sensing the venom in his words. Nathan held his ground, an anchor amidst the tumult. Veronica struggled, her composure unraveling as she faced the mounting evidence against her. "I thought," she began, but faltered under the weight of Nathan's piercing glare. "No more excuses." His voice sliced through the air. "Your actions speak louder than your words ever could." The silence that followed was palpable, leaving a lingering, unsteady tension in the air. Nathan's heart raced, his mind clouded with thoughts on their child, and the life she deserved, untainted by the chapters of treachery. Alice addressed the court confidently, laying the evidence bare for all to absorb. "Clearly, Your Honor, this is not just about infidelity. This is about an unstable, toxic environment for a child." As the gavel banged, Nathan took a shuddering breath, feeling the tide turning in his favor. The ruling would not erase the pain nor the betrayal itself, but would instead bring a deep sense of closure. In that moment of anticipation, with hope shading the horizon, he realized justice was not a distant ideal after all. It was a horizon he could reach, and he would grasp it with unwavering resolve. Weeks turned into a blur after the court ruling. Nathan felt both relieved and exhausted, the aftermath of the battle weighing heavily on his shoulders. The judge had awarded him primary custody of Melissa, granting a dissolution of marriage that stripped Veronica of her financial claims on their assets. It was a victory indeed, but the taste of it was bittersweet. He had won, yet the scars from the war left lingering ache that was far from healed. In the days following the decision, Nathan busied himself with establishing a new routine for himself and Melissa. He shifted into the role of full-time parent, driven by determination to create a nurturing environment divorced from the shadow of repetitive betrayal. Their apartment became a sanctuary, filled with laughter that broke the chains of doubt. But Nathan knew the echoes of the past couldn't merely vanish. Healing was a slow, arduous journey. Melissa, catching wind of her mother's spiraling away from their lives, adjusted remarkably well. She remained resilient despite the chaos that had unfolded. Nathan marveled at her adaptability. She never questioned his motivations, showing curiosity about the world around her while keeping a child's innocent heart intact. Nonetheless, Nathan often felt guilt for dragging her into the adult mess that's formed around their family. Every day felt like treading water, Some days he held steady, and other times he teetered on the edge. Little by little, Nathan poured himself into his passion for real estate. He channeled emotional tumult into his work, flipping houses with renewed fervor. Every renovation project was an antidote to his pain, a transformation of rotten wood into something beautiful, livable. Each time he handed over keys to a grateful buyer, the weight in his chest lifted a little more. He discovered solace in reclaiming control over properties once lost, and his sharp business acumen began to draw attention. Yet, Veronica lingered like an unwelcome ghost in the corners of his life. She had remained distant post-judgment, her attempts to reach out stunted and awkward. Nathan had expected anger, a seething, desperate battle. But her silence was a reminder that the scars of betrayal wouldn't easily disappear. Occasionally, Nathan would receive text messages from her, trying to soothe the numbness that had blanketed their chaotic past, but he would find it impossible to respond. "Dad, can we go to the zoo again?" Melissa urged one afternoon as they made pancakes together, a simple gesture igniting warmth inside him. Her laughter filled the kitchen, a stark contrast to the tension that had loomed over his heart just months prior. "Of course, sweetheart." Nathan grinned, a sense of lightness blossoming at her enthusiasm. "We can see the monkeys and feed the giraffes." The next day, they set off for the zoo. As they strolled among the exhibits, peering into the enclosures, he felt connected to their routine, each sight echoing in his heart. Melissa was surprisingly insightful, asking questions that made him see the world anew, the slice of life filled with wonder, however small. He noticed how she lit up with every animal sighting, her joy unraveling the past banter they'd seldom shared since the divorce. Their time together was blissful, marred only by the occasional reminder of Veronica's presence. Nathan's phone buzzed with a message. He stood slightly apart from the crowd, hesitant to open it, his heart quickening at the thought of it being her. After a moment of ruing the memento, curiosity got the better of him. He flicked his thumb across the screen. It was simple. "Can we talk? I want to see Melissa." A wave of irritation surged through him, and yet part of him mourned the need for the interaction. Did she truly understand how her actions had shattered their lives? The thought alone was maddening, and he felt a prick of resolve. The comfort of his recent victory was tainted by her impending re-entry into their lives. "Dad, what's wrong?" Melissa's small voice barely broke through Nathan's thoughts, and he realized he had been standing unresponsive. "Nothing, Melissa. Just work stuff," he muttered, shoving the phone into his pocket, suppressing his own whirlwind of emotions. An impulse to ignore it crowded his mind, but as he delved deeper into thoughts about what's best for Melissa, he felt compelled to reply. She had been absent for so long. The question of Veronica's intentions hung thinly in the air. After a quick consultation with himself, Nathan sent a text back. "I'll think about it. Let you know soon." Days turned into another suffocating week, dominated by silence. Finally, the weekend beckoned, bringing with it the promise of sunlight. Nathan's internal debate twisted like a tightrope. Was he jeopardizing everything he had worked on by allowing Veronica back into their lives? Bounding through the door one evening, Melissa beamed when she saw her father busy in the kitchen. "Dad, can we bake cookies? The zoo was super fun, but I want to do something special." He chuckled at her excitement, their bond woven tightly through shared experiences. "Absolutely. Let's make the biggest batch we can." As flour dusted the counters and sugar crystals stuck to their fingers, together they whipped, stirred, and laughed, creating a spirit that hung in the air like warmth from the oven. It was during this simple act of baking that Nathan mulled over another message he had drafted to Veronica. The idea of including her in Melissa's life filled him with apprehension. The little girl deserved the chance to see her mother, but at what cost? After multiple aborted attempts to reach out, he decided that they needed to have a clear boundary in place. "If we're going to do this, we'll need to approach it differently," he reminded himself, furrowing his brow. He stared into the gooey mixture, engrossed in that simple yet conflicting urge to protect his daughter while recognizing her longing for connection. A few days later, he finally met with Veronica at a local cafe. The atmosphere hung thick as he took a seat across from her, a strange combination of past and present. While he remained resolute, He could see how the tables had turned. Her expression held no malice, but a tinge of desperation mixed with helplessness. A sliver of guilt nagged at his heart. "I just want to try to be a part of her life again," Veronica began, vulnerability etched across her face. "I miss her, Nathan. After everything that happened, I can't just forgive and forget," Nathan responded, his voice clipped. "You've been absent. You'll have to earn her trust again." "I know," she replied softly, almost pleading. "I made mistakes. That's not who I am anymore. And yet, that's how you behaved for a long time." He couldn't help but rebut. "Your choices hurt all of us." Melissa needs stability. Tension hung between them, each soft-spoken word dancing along emotional strings that swayed between resentment and an undefined longing for acceptance. "I know it'll take time," she continued, her tone edged with sincerity, "but I want to show her I can be a better mother." Nathan's heart churned. He noticed her change. The shame reflected in her eyes indicated deeper truths. But could she truly rise from the ashes of their past trauma? Would it be fair to hope for a redemption story? A flicker of hesitation danced through him, wrestling with the protective instincts that kicked in whenever he thought about Melissa. "I'll let you see her," he said eventually, carefully weighing the words on his tongue. "But it has to be on my terms. If it affects her negatively, I will not tolerate it." Veronica nodded. A sense of relief washed over her face, but he noticed it didn't entirely extinguish the faint shadows of regret that lingered. Over the next few weeks, Nathan treaded lightly into this new territory. Veronica's visits became a regular occurrence, weaving moments of uncertainty into their lives as they navigated this new balance. Watching her with Melissa, he carefully observed for any signs of duplicity, the remnants of a past that still haunted them both. With every fleeting laugh shared between mother and daughter, Nathan's defenses began to thaw. Melissa remained blissfully unaware of the undercurrent of tension, happily embracing her mother's return to her life. Nathan had constructed an emotional barrier around her, hoping to protect Melissa from any of the chaos that might still bubble beneath the surface. But beneath this fragile setup, Nathan saw the remnants of trust slowly stitched back together. A delicate tapestry born from struggles and pain. It was a path of healing to be undertaken slowly and carefully. And while Nathan remained firm in his resolve to shield his child, there was also hope woven into those moments. Yet Nathan knew that trust, like fragile glass, could be shattered, and often at moments least expected. He would keep his guard up because everyone had a breaking point, and he vowed he wouldn't let them reach it easily again. No more betrayal, only the solid foundation of understanding as he moved forward into a tentative new chapter. As the weeks slipped into months, an unsteady truce began to form between Nathan and Veronica. The awkwardness that once filled their interactions gradually morphed into an uneasy civility, especially as Melissa thrived in the midst of it all. She began to flourish under the new arrangement, her laughter resonating like music in Nathan's home, a melody he cherished even in the throes of uncertainty. Veronica's visits were initially fraught with tension, but Nathan often found himself surprised by her genuine efforts. She began taking an active role, engaging with Melissa in ways that sparked joy and curiosity. They would bake cookies, paint, and play board games, activities that filled their home with the warmth of familial connection. Nathan observed from the background, navigating the tightrope of fatherhood with an expectant hope that perhaps this new dynamic could work. One Friday evening, Nathan stood in the living room, preparing for a dinner Veronica planned to host for them all. He had been dreading this moment. While he wanted Melissa to enjoy the chance to cultivate her relationship with her mother, Nathan couldn't shake the apprehension that nagged at the back of his mind. The smell of sautéed garlic filled the air, mingling with nostalgia as he thumbed through old photo albums, revisiting the echoes of bygone memories. He froze at pictures of happier times, before Veronica's betrayal had shattered their world. But there, nestled within the joyful fragments, he saw moments that stung, yet were intricately woven into the fabric of his daughter's life. "Dad!" "Mom is here!" Melissa erupted, bounding through the door with infectious excitement. Her energy shifted the atmosphere, a confirmation that she truly adored these moments they were carving out together. "Hey, buddy!" Veronica smiled as she entered, a basket of food in hand. Nathan watched her face light up while she engaged with Melissa, her laughter punctuating the evening together. He couldn't deny that Melissa's happiness brought a flicker of warmth to his heart, albeit mixed with caution. The dinner progressed, filled with awkward silences and tentative laughter as they tried to bridge the chasm forged by painful memories. Nathan was struck by how seamlessly Veronica and Melissa appeared to gel during their playful banter. Melissa beamed, content to bask in the moment between them, creating new memories, while Nathan fought against the remnants of mistrust that lingered in his mind. Just as dessert was being served, Nathan glanced at Veronica, taking an opportunity to discern her intentions. "So, how have you been feeling about everything?" The question escaped before he could filter it, a combination of curiosity and concern. Veronica paused, her spoon hovering over the plate of whipped cream. She twisted her napkin nervously, taking a breath that revealed the weight of her thoughts. "Honestly, it's been hard. I know I haven't been there for you guys, and I still regret that. I've been trying to work on myself, you know? It's a process." Nathan felt a flicker of surprise. "I appreciate that," he managed. While he still bore scars of her past decisions, this moment felt like an olive branch, a strand woven toward connection. "I just want what's best for Melissa." "Of course," she replied, her voice steady. "That's all I want, too." That night marked a turning point of sorts for Nathan. As he settled into bed, his thoughts danced between newfound aspirations and lingering doubts. It was fragile territory, a delicate balance that threatened to unravel at the slightest misstep. He began to wonder if perhaps they could find a path toward genuine forgiveness, a way to heal the wounds that had festered for so long. The subsequent weeks unfolded in a series of small, hopeful steps toward reconnection. Nathan noticed the shifts Veronica was making. She volunteered at Melissa's school and even began to learn how to help her with homework. Watching from a distance, Nathan felt a mixture of wonder and dread as Melissa glowed with pride to show her mother her new discoveries. It was bittersweet, the way he focused on his daughter, made the effort to separate from the lingering resentment he harbored. But time often has a way of wrapping past scars with invisible threads, reminding one of the chaos they once lived through. A phone call years later would change the narrative. On a crisp Tuesday morning, he found himself staring at another text message that bore the weight of an old flame. "Can we meet? I need to talk." His stomach twisted. He had not heard from Veronica like this in months. There was no escaping the bitter reminder of emotions that longed to suck him back into a world of uncertainty. Melissa was at school, and he was even considering how to navigate this interaction. The old Nathan would have resisted firmly. There was no room for her in his life anymore. But the new Nathan, a man reshaped by the ordeal, found it hard to dismiss the curiosity boiling within him. He texted back, agreeing to meet at the cafe they frequented when they first started dating all those years ago. The decision sat uneasily on his chest, but he felt drawn toward it, knowing that ignoring it would only feed the nagging tension between them. The cafe buzzed with life upon his entrance, a contrast to the turmoil brewing inside him. Glancing around, he spotted Veronica at a corner booth, visibly nervous, drumming her fingers against the polished table. She looked up, her eyes searching for his. "Hey," she greeted, a fragile smile on her lips. "Hi," Nathan replied, taking the seat opposite her. "What's going on?" Veronica sighed, her expression morphing from apprehension to vulnerability. "I wanted to talk about Melissa. I know I've made questionable decisions in the past, and I don't want to repeat that cycle. I've been thinking about how my actions affected her. It hit me hard." Nathan nodded, gauging the sincerity behind her words. "It's been a process for both of us. I want to be a better mom. I really do. I've enrolled in therapy. I'm starting to understand the roots of my mistakes. It's a journey, but I want you to consider something. I'd like to have a more substantial role in her life." The request knocked the wind out of Nathan's sails. "What do you mean by that?" he asked carefully, probing but guarded. "I want to establish a more formal co-parenting plan. Maybe I can take her every other weekend or spend one day a week with her after school. I just want her to know I'm here for her, truly here. I think about the time I lost, and it terrifies me. I don't want to be that person anymore. His initial reaction was a mixture of skepticism and hope. Thinking about co-parenting arrangements felt small compared to the magnitude of the past. But for Melissa's sake, he knew he'd have to engage with it. It's a big decision, Veronica. I understand, she replied earnestly. I'm willing to prove that I'm changing. I want you to feel secure, knowing Melissa will be cared for, emotionally and physically. Turning it over in his mind, Nathan mulled over the delicate threads of trust still weaving between them. I'll consider it, but it won't be easy. Trust takes time. Time is all I'm asking for, she said, meeting his gaze. I hope we can establish something that works for both of us and is best for Melissa. The conversation swirled through Nathan's thoughts long after he left the cafe that day. A new chapter awaited, not simply for him, but for Melissa, the beating heart of their lives. Trust was fragile, like a thin glass bridge over churning waters. But perhaps, just perhaps, they were moving forward with the chance to look onto a more genuine healing for all involved. As Nathan arrived home that evening, the uncertainty still flickered in the back of his mind, but clarity also sought its place. Processing this conversation with Veronica, he realized that healing sometimes required stepping into the unknown, guided inwardly by the desire for good. And as he looked upon Melissa, giddy from another glowing day at school, the weight of his worries slowly lifted away, casting light on a new possibility, a flicker of hope in a once bleak horizon. The decision to grant Veronica more access to Melissa loomed over Nathan like a storm cloud for weeks. The unease tangled in his gut, yet he couldn't dismiss the flicker of hope lighting the edges of his mind. It was possible that she had genuinely changed. He had seen the glimmers of sincerity during their recent conversation. Deep down, Nathan also understood that allowing Veronica back into their lives might be the best thing for Melissa. She deserved to have both parents, even if their past was marred by betrayal. Eventually, Nathan got down to drafting a new co-parenting plan, carefully weighing every detail. As the weeks passed, the plan began to take shape on paper. He invigilated it carefully, incorporating specific guidelines that would ensure Melissa's well-being remained paramount. If Veronica was given the chance to rebuild their trust, it would require clear boundaries to safeguard them both. He spent hours poring over every possibility, seeking the expertise of a family law attorney to solidify the arrangement. The legal documents outlined visitation schedules, communication protocols, and contingencies for behaviors that he hoped would never arise. Reassurance lingered in each section. Should Veronica step out of line, Nathan would protect his daughter. The first weekend of the new arrangement returned Nathan back into the pangs of uncertainty. As he prepared Melissa for her inaugural overnight stay with Veronica, he watched her excitement bubble over. "I can't wait to bake cookies with Mommy and do arts and crafts," she squealed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I know," Nathan replied, doing his best to mask the anxiety swirling inside him. "Just remember to call me if you need anything, okay?" As the hours passed and the time for drop-off approached, the pleasant atmosphere turned heavier. Nathan found himself questioning everything. Would this really prove to be a step forward, or would it escalate into more chaos? Yet he knew he couldn't let fear dictate their lives forever. Stepping outside his comfort zone had become necessary to ensure Melissa had the growth prospects she deserved. Arriving at Veronica's place, Nathan was elated to see it was in order, a stark contrast to the disorder that once defined her life. The colors were light and inviting, an accent of cheerful decor and family-friendly touches. The entryway reflected effort, a symbol of the changes Veronica had claimed to be making. "Hey, Nathan," she said, opening the door wide and inviting them inside. Her smile was genuine, filled with warmth that melted away any lingering resentment. "Thanks for bringing Melissa." "Of course," he replied, grounding his voice, willing himself to remain calm. "I just hope she behaves for you." Veronica chuckled softly, taking Melissa's hand as they ventured deeper into the apartment. Don't worry. We're going to have so much fun. The excitement reverberated in the air, yet Nathan remained vigilant, keenly aware of the invisible threads of fragility binding their lives. They embraced for the first time post-divorce, and he caught a whiff of her familiar lavender perfume, a scent void of the heavy implications it once held. It was a refreshing change for Nathan, but he knew that trust was earned through consistent action, not fleeting reconstructions. As he left the apartment, driving home in silence, a flicker of hope dared to replace his prior tension. Melissa was so thrilled, and that joy remained at the center of everything he had fought for. Still, it felt almost surreal, and the doubt that nagged at the back of his mind would need time to dissipate. The first hours of solitude grazed past before fading into the night, and while Nathan waited for Melissa's inevitable call, he fell into a quiet routine, making a cup of tea, flipping through channels. But all he truly wanted was to hear her voice, to check on her safety. Then, his phone rang, jolting him from the thoughts that had begun to spiral into a whirlpool of what-ifs. "Dad!" Melissa's voice erupted over the line, bubbling with unfiltered excitement, fueling relief to wash through him. "Hey, sweetie, how's it going?" he asked, feeling a sense of warmth settle in. "It's amazing. We built a fort with blankets, and then we made cookies. Can you believe it?" she exclaimed. "And Mom even read us a story." Nathan smiled, letting the flow of joy seep into his veins, like sunshine breaking through clouds. "That sounds so fun. You're going to tell me all about it when you get home, okay?" He could almost hear her nodding vigorously. "Yes! I love you, Dad." "I love you too, Mel. See you soon." As he hung up, Nathan felt lighter. The looming weight of anxiety dissipated. If this was the start of a new chapter, then perhaps they were on the right path. The phone call, his daughter's enthusiasm, carried the weight of hopefulness, the kind that could only come from moving cautiously forward, even when it felt scary. Throughout the next several weeks, as the co-parenting arrangements settled into a rhythm, Nathan found himself easing further into the process. He observed small changes in Veronica, a willingness to communicate openly, acknowledge responsibilities, and involve Nathan in decisions regarding Melissa's schooling and activities. Their conversations shifted from transactional to collaborative, nurturing the ground for what could be a cautiously supportive partnership. Yet, even in these positives, Nathan couldn't ignore the looming specter of his past experiences. While everything seemed to be improving on the surface, he still checked in on various aspects of the arrangement. On occasion, he texted Veronica about logistics, ensuring that boundaries adhered to the previously outlined guidelines. He felt torn between excitement over the progress and the instinct to safeguard his daughter. One day, however, Nathan's vigilance was forcibly tested. He picked up Melissa for the weekend, only to discover that Veronica had taken her to an event that Nathan had not agreed to. As they arrived back at Nathan's home, Melissa couldn't hide her eagerness to share her adventures. "Dad, we went to a big concert in the park. I danced with Mommy and we sang songs the whole time," Melissa gushed, her enthusiasm not dissipating as Nathan stirred within with apprehension. "What kind of concert?" he probed gently, trying to hold back his frustration while remaining unyielding in his concern. "The fun kind, with balloons and food." "There were faces painted and everything," she announced, oblivious to the tension it ignited. "Did you ask Mommy about it? Did you tell her that you needed to check with me first?" Nathan prodded, engaging in the civil conversation he had hoped for. Melissa seemed to hesitate, her smile faltering slightly. "She said it would be fine. She promised." His expression hardened at Melissa's words. "I need to talk to your mother, Melissa." Fighting the urge to lash out, Nathan remained composed. He felt a cold wave of disappointment wash over him. This was not how co-parenting was supposed to unfold. As soon as she left to play in her room, Nathan took out his phone and texted Veronica. "Can we talk? There's something we need to address regarding Melissa." The reply came quickly. "Sure. What's up?" After a few deep breaths, Nathan dictated a carefully worded response. "I wasn't informed about the concert in the park. I thought we agreed to keep each other in the loop concerning any significant plans for Melissa. This isn't just about fun. It's crucial we respect our agreement." After that, time felt stretched as he awaited her response, a simmering uncertainty lingering in the air. He paced, absorbing his worry as memories of past betrayals prodded insistently at the back of his mind. The uncertainty felt overwhelming. Had he miscalculated this new arrangement? Minutes passed before Veronica replied, "I'm sorry, I thought you would be okay with it. I will make sure to communicate better. I just wanted her to have a good time." He felt a mix of relief and frustration at her apology. "I appreciate that, but please understand. We're navigating new ground here, and it's something that takes both of us to work on. This was too big to exclude me." "I understand, Nathan. I'll ensure it doesn't happen again." With every text exchanged, Nathan felt the tug of old wounds attempting to resurface. The endeavor for healing often felt like a precarious dance of stepping forward and then taking a step back, and yet all he wanted was to ensure that his daughter had the reliability of her parents behind her. Late that night, he lay in bed, wrestling with the worries that lay sprawled on his mind. While he had to maintain healthy boundaries with Veronica, ensuring Melissa thrived came first. Trusting Veronica would take time, and yet the thought of retreating felt hollow. Nathan's thoughts swirled before he finally drifted into restless sleep, pondering the delicate dance of co-parenting that lay ahead. Even as he faced the challenges, he could start to imagine a future, one where he could protect Melissa, fostering a healthy relationship between her and her mother. Healing, while fraught with uncertainty, was always an ongoing journey. For his daughter's sake, he would find a way forward, step by careful step. The weeks that followed the concert incident proved pivotal. Nathan and Veronica navigated the rocky terrain of co-parenting with a blend of tension and progress. Each small win brought a renewed sense of optimism, yet the fear of the past creeping back lingered in the background like an untamed shadow. Nathan remained vigilant, constantly evaluating Veronica's ability to maintain transparency while fostering an environment conducive to Melissa's happiness. She seemed genuinely committed to the path they'd agreed upon, and he found himself slowly softening towards the idea of a partnership. Perhaps they could indeed build a more supportive relationship. As the school year approached its end, Melissa's enthusiasm was palpable. Her excitement over upcoming events was infectious, particularly for the annual school talent show. "Dad, I want to sing in the talent show. I need to practice," she declared one night over dinner, bouncing in her chair. Nathan couldn't help but smile. "That's a fantastic idea. Do you have a song in mind?" "Let It Go!" "From that movie," she exclaimed, eyes sparkling with confidence. Nathan felt a swell of pride, but he also envisioned the unprecedented challenge of arranging family attendance. The shifting dynamics of co-parenting meant that he had to involve Veronica in this too. "Sounds great, but you know what that means, right?" Nathan said, adopting a teasing manner. "You'll have to practice a lot so we can wow the audience." Melissa giggled, and in that moment, Nathan felt the fleeting stress dissipate. He set a plan in motion to discuss the talent show with Veronica, aware that coordinating attendance would be crucial for Melissa's experience. Over the next few days, Nathan composed an invitation to meet Veronica, extending the conversation to encompass Melissa's upcoming performance. In their current rhythm, communicating about their daughter's milestones felt more important than dwelling on previous grievances. When the day arrived for the meeting, they convened at the same cafe where they first discussed co-parenting arrangements. Nathan arrived early, imprinting a steadfast calm on his demeanor. Veronica arrived promptly, her smile cautiously optimistic, folding her hands on the table. "Hey," she greeted, a hint of curiosity shimmering in her eyes. "What's on your mind?" "Melissa's talent show is coming up, and I wanted to see if we could coordinate our attendance," Nathan began, gauging her reaction. "I think having both of us there would mean so much to her." "Of course. I'd love to go," Veronica replied, her relief cracking through the surface. "I can help her practice too before the show." The conversation flowed easily, each moment erasing remnants of the past. They discussed logistics, who would bring what decorations, who would film the performance, and how excited they both were to support their daughter. Do you think she'll get nervous? Veronica asked, a look of genuine concern crossing her features. She might, but with practice, I think she can dazzle everyone, Nathan reassured her, warmth building in his chest as he envisioned his daughter on stage. They settled on a plan, deciding to alternate days of practice together, Melissa shifting between her parents' houses without issue. Each time he saw his daughter express herself on stage, Nathan felt a growing pride. She was remarkable, and it reminded him of the initial drive they had to create family memories. The talent show arrived, buzzing with energy, as families gathered in the school auditorium, decorated with colorful banners. Nathan could feel his heart race as he looked around, spotting other classmates being supported by their families. He and Veronica exchanged glances, a mutual understanding blossoming between them as Melissa's name was finally called. "Let's cheer her on," Nathan said, settling into the seat and stealing a quick look at Veronica, who was visibly excited. When Melissa bounded onto the stage, a spotlight framed her with radiant brightness as she clutched the microphone. The room faded away, leaving only Nathan's fierce pride and sheer love. From the first note, her voice soared, harmonizing beautifully with the backing track. "Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore," she sang, full of room-echoing confidence. A wave of joy washed over Nathan, invigorating him as he glanced at Veronica. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, they shared a look that encapsulated all the hopes and struggles they had traversed together, an unspoken acknowledgement of their journey thus far. As Melissa continued singing, Nathan felt overcome with emotion. It was a celebration not just of her accomplishments, but also of their transformed dynamics. This child was their beacon, stitching together the remnants of their broken past into a beautiful, hopeful tapestry. When the final note resonated, a thundering applause erupted, and Nathan rose to his feet, cheering fervently, joined by Veronica. Melissa beamed, her face radiant with victory, eyes sparkling as she scanned the room and landed on her triumphant parents. Afterward, they regrouped backstage, where Melissa was bubbling with excitement. "Did you guys see me? I did it!" she exclaimed, breathless from her performance. Her enthusiasm became contagious, drawing laughter from both Nathan and Veronica as they celebrated together. "You were incredible," Nathan exclaimed, pulling her into a warm hug. "I'm so proud of you." Veronica knelt down to join in on the moment, wrapping her arms around both of them. "You brought the house down, Sweet Pea." It was amazing. The three of them reveled in the post-performance glow, the brief experience acting as a balm for their previous divide. As they made their way out into the bustling parking lot, Nathan felt a renewed sense of optimism. Perhaps they could inch closer to what he had envisioned, a healthy co-parenting relationship for the sake of Melissa's well-being. From that moment forward, Nathan felt bolder in addressing future concerns. The grounds of their relationship shifted. Where once there lay tension and mistrust, now the prospect of shared parenting grew brighter. They even began to discuss more structured joint activities, finding ways to intertwine their parenting styles without compromising Melissa's emotional stability. Yet as they grew closer through their co-parenting duties, Nathan remained cautious. The fragility of their relationship rippled beneath the surface. Old scars served as gentle reminders that the road ahead required not just effort, but vigilance. Time continued to weave itself into their interactions, with nights filled with laughter over shared meals, as the three of them explored family activities together. The dynamic felt solidifying. Nathan reveled in being present, investing in moments that filled their home with love. But he remained sharp, aware that any complacency might allow the specter of betrayal to creep back in. Not long after, however, a subtle change in Veronica's behavior threatened to unearth the stability they had carefully constructed. He began noticing her phone screen frequently lighting up with messages, her demeanor shifting when she received them, a flash of guilt crossing her features whenever she thought he wasn't watching. One late evening, Nathan caught her in a moment. As she stepped outside for what she claimed was a breather, he felt the rise of unease, instincts flaring vividly. Curiosity tugged at him, sending him to the window where he observed her through the dim light of the porch. She looked down at her phone, tapping away, her expression betraying a familiar tension, a masked urgency that sent shivers down his spine. He wrestled with his own thoughts, grappling with the former experiences that lingered behind every corner. Could he jump to conclusions? Was he being paranoid? Shadows of doubt crept in, and he felt the tension uncoil. After she returned inside, Nathan focused intently, choosing to tread carefully. He had to confront her, but it needed to be approached with caution. The trust they had slowly cultivated wasn't there yet. He knew that any mistake could unravel everything they had built. "Hey, everything all right?" he asked, adopting a casual demeanor, as she entered the living room, hoping for an opening. "Oh, yeah, just needed some fresh air," Veronica replied too quickly, too smoothly. The edge in her voice didn't go unnoticed. Nathan decided to press lightly. "I saw you outside." "Were you chatting with someone?" Veronica glanced toward him, her expression a mix of confusion and defensiveness. "It was just a friend. Relax," she said more curtly than intended. Keeping his voice even, Nathan replied, "You seem a bit on edge lately. Is there something going on?" She hesitated, the tension thickened in the air, sparking reminders of their past. Nathan desperately wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, but he also needed clarity. "Things are just stressful, Nathan. It's probably just work," she replied, her tone softer yet still evasive. While uncertainty churned within him, Nathan sensed his instincts pressing him to unearth the truth. He had hoped for stability and understanding, but that weight from the past still bore down on him. "Can we talk about it?" he offered gently. Veronica's eyes glinted with a mixture of fear and irritation. "There's nothing to talk about. Stop reading into everything." "You're being paranoid." Many emotions collided within Nathan: hurt, confusion, fear. Yet he maintained composure. "I'm not trying to push. I just don't want any issues to arise, especially for Melissa." She kept their gaze for a long moment, evidently weighing her words. "Fine, it's just some old friends reaching out, people from my past. I didn't want to mention it, and now it's just awkward." Nathan took a deep breath, hoping to maintain understanding. But something inside him flickered at her admission. "Are you sure it's just that?" "Because if you need my help—" "I don't need your help," Veronica snapped, pain reflecting in her voice. "Why can't you just trust me? I'm trying." He searched her eyes, desperately wanting to believe in the sincerity of her intentions. "I want to, Veronica. But I need to know you're really committed to this. Committed to us being better." In that moment, the conversation shifted, their desperation to communicate merging into an emotionally charged standoff. He felt the air thickening, tension sparking the edges of his mind as he grasped the potential reality of falling back into a trap he desperately feared. "Let me prove it to you," she said finally, her voice trembling. "If you give me the chance, I will." Nathan mulled over her words, aware of their frailty. The promise of moving forward tethered precariously to the past. Time would tell whether this era would signal established trust or the unraveling of all he had worked towards. Sitting silently in the weighty tension that hung in the air, Nathan resolved to navigate this precarious situation with both vigilance and hope. Change should be embraced. Yet as they tread deeper into uncertain waters together, he felt the flicker of suspicion once more arise. Would they break through the chains holding them back? Or would another betrayal shadow their newfound happiness? Only time would reveal the truth as they unraveled the threads of their shared journey. The days and nights that followed the conversation with Veronica hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy with unspoken tension. Nathan found himself on edge, oscillating between optimism and skepticism. He felt like a tightrope walker, balancing the fragile trust between them as he negotiated the delicate path of co-parenting. Melissa remained blissfully unaware of the churning emotions between her parents. After the talent show, she grew closer to both Nathan and Veronica, their weekends together marked with joy as they created fond memories. Despite the worry gnawing at Nathan's mind, He embraced these moments, reminding himself that it was crucial for Melissa to bond with her mother as well. Yet, Nathan wrestled with the shadows of insecurity. He didn't want to succumb to paranoia, but every time Veronica stepped away to check her phone, an unsettling tension coiled tightly in his gut. He had to remind himself of the progress they had made and that he could trust Veronica to uphold her end of the arrangement. However, her recent behavior caused old instincts to resurface, and the worry settled into a dull ache. One Friday evening, as he prepared dinner for himself and Melissa, the doorbell rang. Nathan opened the door to find Melissa standing with an excited grin, her backpack slung over her shoulder. "Dad, can Mom come over too? She wants to help make pizza." The warmth in her voice sliced through Nathan's apprehension. "Of course. That sounds fantastic. I'll text her." Despite the heaviness in his chest, he managed to maintain an upbeat tone, reaching for his phone. "Are you two planning a pizza party?" he replied, feigning a bright smile. "Yeah. I want to make it the biggest pizza ever," Melissa cheered, her energy filling the room. Shortly afterward, Veronica arrived, her smile effervescent as she embraced Melissa. "Ready to make the biggest, cheesiest pizza?" she asked, her excitement palpable. As the three of them worked together in the kitchen, roiling emotions began to dissipate, momentarily overshadowed by the shared joy of preparing a meal. They rolled out dough, splattered sauce on the counter, and sprinkled cheese like confetti. Melissa directed the show with childlike enthusiasm, laughing as bits of flour clustered into clouds. "Just wait until you taste our masterpiece," Nathan said, trying to stoke the lightness in the air. Veronica beamed, her laughter infectious. "We might have a new family recipe here." As the evening settled in, the comforting aroma of baking pizza wafted through the air, and moments of laughter and excitement filled their home. For a brief moment, Nathan felt a sense of relief wash over him. Maybe they could make it work, he thought, allowing the warmth of being a family to replace the prickling doubt. Yet, after dinner, as they sat around the table, Veronica grabbed her phone with an urgency that unsettled Nathan. She had received a flurry of messages, her brows furrowing as she scrolled. "Everything okay?" Nathan asked, attempting to mask the irritation tinging his voice. "Yeah, just some updates from an old friend," she replied quickly, the tension in her tone betraying her. As if sensing the shift in his mood, Melissa chimed in, "Dad, can we watch a movie? You promised we could." Nathan fought to regain his composure. "Sure, let's finish our pizza and find one." He turned his attention to the television, but the nagging worry continued to gnaw at him. If Veronica was truly committed to this pathway, why the reticence? The next few days passed in a chaotic whirlwind of activities and memories. Nathan tried to give space for Veronica's newfound friends while wrestling with his own anxieties. He pondered the validity of her recent claims about wanting to move forward, whether she was truly dedicated to co-parenting or if it was just another facade. He began to notice patterns. Veronica often received texts during their meetings, her gaze quickly darting to her phone whenever a notification chimed. The concern crystallized into a hard thought. Was she hiding something from him? By the time the following weekend arrived, Nathan's tension had reached a breaking point. Deciding on a more direct approach, he opted to confront her. "Can we talk?" Nathan said, his heart racing as they stood outside, while Melissa played nearby. "Sure, what's up?" Veronica responded, the same cautious smile etched on her face. "Look, I've noticed you've been distracted and secretive. I don't want to pressure you, but I think we need openness for us to create a healthy co-parenting relationship." Veronica flinched slightly. "Nathan, I've explained. It's just old friends reaching out. They want to catch up, that's all." "Old friends shouldn't have to evade conversations in front of me," he pressed, frustration inching into his voice. "I need to feel secure, knowing that you're present with us, not preoccupied with someone else." Her expression hardened momentarily, anger flashing in her eyes. "This is ridiculous. Do you think I'm going back to my old life? I'm trying to move forward." "I hope so," Nathan replied firmly, "but I need to trust you. This isn't just about us anymore. We have Melissa to think about." He took a breath, hoping for clarity. "If things are changing in your life, I want to be a part of that journey. But you have to start sharing things with me. We're in this together, remember? Her shoulders slumped as she absorbed his words, a tense silence stretching between them. I'll give you that. I just don't want to go here. I thought we were finally creating something different. Maybe we can talk about that next time we meet. Let's set our own terms for co-parenting, Nathan suggested, maintaining an even tone. Melissa needs us both, and we can be better if you truly want to. After a long pause, Veronica nodded, albeit reluctantly. Fine. I'll try to be more open. You have a point. I don't want to jeopardize that. They separated after their conversation, a fragile truce washing over them. Nathan held on to the hope that this moment could lead to meaningful changes. Weeks passed, and the newfound rhythm of co-parenting settled deeper into their lives. Despite the shadows of uncertainty, moments of shared laughter sparked life and warmth in Nathan's home. The bonds between them strengthened, forming a foundation he never anticipated. Yet, just when he felt the stability solidify, the facets of their arrangement collided with a significant decision. Nathan encountered messages that suggested one of Veronica's friends, excited and persistent, had plans that skirted the boundaries they had set. As he stepped forward into the next phase of their partnership, the fleeting sting of doubt rose once again. On an evening that marked another shared weekend, Nathan invited Veronica to discuss updates about Melissa's upcoming school dance. He approached the conversation with careful deliberation, wanting to address the discrepancies he perceived in her behavior. Hey, I wanted to give you a heads up about Melissa's dance coming up. I think it might be a great experience for her, Nathan began, leading into the topic. Oh, right, I can help her choose an outfit, Veronica replied enthusiastically, her smile genuine. Yeah, I thought it would be significant for us to collaborate on this, Nathan said, aiming to focus on the positive. But I wanted to discuss something I noticed. Veronica's enthusiasm shifted subtly, her brows knitting together. What do you mean? Well, Nathan said, choosing his words carefully, I've seen exchanges on social media suggesting you're planning to go to parties with some of your old friends, the same ones I was concerned about. Veronica's expression hardened again, lines forming on her forehead as tension filled the air. It's not what you think. They're just friends I had before everything went down. I can't isolate my past entirely. Right, but we agreed to be transparent with one another. And going to parties without including me feels like a breach, especially considering we just talked about building trust, he pressed gently. Veronica's reaction quickened, her eyes flashing with indignation. Are you seriously monitoring everything I do now? That isn't fair. I'm not monitoring you, Veronica. I'm trying to build a new relationship. My priority is the well-being of Melissa, he countered, stifling the sharp frustration that began to well up within. You don't trust me, she shot back, her voice rising. I told you I'm changing. I'm trying to be better. You just won't let me. That's not fair to me, Nathan replied firmly. I'm willing to meet you halfway, but I need to see responsibility and commitment. I don't want a repeat of the past. The clash of emotions enveloped them in silence, raw and heavy. As the tension settled around them, Nathan caught sight of shadows crossing the darkness, the risks from their past still tugging at them, threatening to unravel the delicately spun tapestry of their making. Veronica folded her arms, the flicker of frustration settling deeper. Can't we just enjoy what we have? Of course, but we also need to build a foundation we both agree on, Nathan responded, calming his voice. Openness doesn't mean I'm trying to control you. It means I want us both to feel secure. As they both sat in silence, each processing their words, Nathan's heart raced at the thought of their fragile progress faltering. Would this moment push them apart? Would they retreat back into their old patterns? Let's just keep Melissa as our priority, all right? Veronica finally said quietly, layers of vulnerability creeping into her voice. Her defenses lowered just a notch. Agreed, Nathan nods, relieved yet uncertain. I believe we can get through this. We just have to keep trying. Time continued its weave, stitching together threads of understanding amidst the emotional turmoil etched into their lives. Progress felt indeterminate, yet Nathan held on to hope, eager for stability in a world where trust could twist and turn. For all the pain, he yearned for a brighter future. For himself, for Melissa, and perhaps even for the people they could become together. The path ahead remained unwritten, an open canvas on which they could collaboratively inscribe their intentions and dreams. The weeks after Nathan and Veronica's confrontation felt paradoxical. They sat at a crossroads, where every decision bore the weight of the past, yet the potential for growth was palpable. They continued to navigate the intricate path of co-parenting, which newly teetered on a foundation of cautious optimism. Their conversations oscillated between moments of warmth and lingering tension as they balanced old patterns with fresh commitments. Melissa thrived within this structure, her laughter filling their evenings, her excitement for the school dance palpable. Nathan relished these shared experiences, each moment laden with affection that hinted at the possibility of a functional family, consisting not solely of old wounds, but rather the promise of rebirth forged from understanding. As the dance drew near, the collaboration between Nathan and Veronica over Melissa's preparations grew bittersweet. Veronica immersed herself in selecting the perfect outfit, channeling fervor into finding the right color, cut, and accessories. They spent afternoons poring over fabric swatches and potential shoes, and Melissa's infectious enthusiasm soon erased remnants of mistrust. One weekend in particular was marked by a unique synergy. Nathan had set up a makeshift fashion show in their living room, complete with an impromptu runway made from a length of bright fabric. They laughed as Melissa twirled, showcasing her chosen dress, a vibrant blue that highlighted her sparkling eyes. "Look at my graceful model," Nathan cheered, capturing the moment with his phone, a hint of nostalgia washing over him. "Can we find some sparkly shoes to go with it?" Veronica asked, her smile radiant as she engaged fully, undistracted by anything else. "I think we should call Grandma and see if she wants to come help pick them out." For a brief moment, Nathan felt the tapestry of their shared experience stretching into the future, a gentle blend of laughter, and shared memories. He found himself enchanted by how effortlessly they spun out moments of joy, almost as if they were crafting a new familial dynamic. Yet, just as he began to feel secure, the familiar prick of doubt crept back. Nathan remained vigilant, aware that the tapestry was delicate, woven with strands of their fragmented past. He couldn't afford to slip into complacency. After a day filled with excitement and preparation, the night before the dance arrived. Nathan found himself pacing at home, an unexpected knot forming in his stomach. He decided to confront Veronica again, hoping to press for clarification regarding those lingering friendships that had troubled their dynamic. As he found her in the kitchen, preparing snacks for the following evening, Nathan summoned his courage. "Can we talk for a quick second before you get engrossed in all that?" "Sure," she replied, surveying the table laden with chips and cookies. "About the dance, everything looks good. But, I still feel uneasy regarding your communication with your friends," Nathan ventured, struggling to maintain neutrality. Veronica turned, her brow furrowing. "Nathan, are you seriously questioning me again? I told you there's nothing going on. I'm not hiding anything." "I understand, but can you see where I'm coming from?" Nathan pressed, searching for common ground. "I just want to make sure we're both on the same page for Melissa's sake." She crossed her arms defensively, her expression oscillating between frustration and resignation. "What do you need me to say? I'm trying to make this work, and that involves moving on. Then let's be open about it. If you feel safe sharing who you're connecting with, it would clear things up." "You have to help me feel secure too," Nathan urged, attempting to strike a balance between calm and resolve. Veronica hesitated for a moment, her walls faltering. "Fine. I'm in touch with a few old colleagues about work, but they're not a threat, Nathan. I'm really just trying to build my own life." "Okay, if it's not a threat, then why does it feel like you're still keeping it a secret?" Nathan asked delicately, aware that he was treading dangerous ground. "I don't think you'll ever understand. I've been associated with a lot of things that I'm trying to detach from. The last thing I want is to take a step back into old habits," she stated, her voice strained. "I get that, but I also think we can't keep past connections in hiding." "That creates mistrust, Veronica," Nathan clarified. Her frustration flared. "It's not hiding. I can't keep playing this game of past mistakes." I'm trying to be better, but you have to stop pulling me back in. Pressing a hand to his forehead, Nathan tried to hold his ground over the rising tension. I want you to be better, but how do we move forward when I'm still left in the dark? Maybe you should just let me try to be better without constant interrogation, she replied sharply, her defenses rising. They locked eyes for what felt like an eternity, the weight suffocating. The truth was, Nathan had a creeping sense that the old patterns threatened to return, but he also saw slivers of hope through the cracks. I just need to be able to trust you, Veronica. Please, let's put Melissa first, together. His voice was softer now, his tone meant to bridge the gap between them. After a moment, she nodded, albeit reluctantly. All right, I'll try to be open about who I'm connecting with. But I also need you to trust that I'm not the same person I was before. They left the conversation uncertain, each left with their own doubts swirling in their minds, hovering, undercutting the possibilities they had collectively begun to build. As Nathan stepped outside, the cool evening air washed over him, promising clarity amid the uncertainty. The following day arrived, the school dance beginning with a buzz of excitement. Nathan dressed Melissa in her new outfit, her sparkling shoes completing the ensemble as she twirled before the mirror, her enthusiasm palpable. They drove to the venue, his heart swelling with pride as he watched her leap out of the car, a lively spirit radiating from her tiny frame. Once inside, he spotted fellow parents mingling and ushered Melissa toward the milling throngs. With a look of joyful determination, she dashed off to find her friends. Nathan noticed Veronica not far behind, her expression warm as she engaged in conversation. Hours passed while Nathan kept close to Melissa, watching her dance and enjoy the experience. The music pulsed around him, laughter filling the air. He allowed himself to relax, feeling the tension ease momentarily as they both immersed themselves in the moment. Just as he thought the night was unfolding seamlessly, Nathan caught sight of Veronica laughing with a fellow parent, then suddenly glancing at her phone, an uneasiness flickering over her features. His heart raced again. Was his paranoia resurfacing? He thought they had made progress, yet here it was again, the specter of mistrust creeping back into their shared space. As the evening progressed, Nathan decided to approach her, curiosity bubbling beneath the surface. Hey, everything all right? He asked, his voice strained yet calm. Veronica turned, her smile faltering for a moment. Yeah, everything's fine. Just getting some messages. Nathan studied her closely, unable to shake the feeling of trepidation as she hastily tucked her phone away. You sure? You seem distracted. I'm fine, Nathan, she snapped, annoyance creeping into her tone. Stop with the hindsight. He felt a flush of frustration seep into his core, but held back. It's hard not to read into things, especially if we're working on building trust, Nathan replied carefully. With tension thickening, Veronica's gaze shifted to the dance floor as Melissa giggled with her friends. I'm trying my best. I thought we agreed to focus on our daughter. Right, but every time I see you checking your phone like that, it makes me question how committed you are. He pushed gently, determined to engage with sincerity despite the rising emotions. Her expression tightened. You're twisting things, she snapped, crossing her arms. Am I? Nathan replied evenly. It's a pattern. You have to see that. For a moment, they stood at an impasse, feelings of disappointment and frustration coiling tightly around their exchange. The dance continued to swirl around them, oblivious to the simmering conflict lingering just nearby. Maybe it's best if we stop, Veronica finally muttered, frustration pouring from her voice. Stop? No. I want us to figure this out. Just give me something. Bring anything to this conversation at the moment, Nathan urged. But the fissures grew wider. We cannot keep spinning in circles, Veronica responded, as distress morphed into anger. If you can't let me be me, then maybe we should draw sharper lines again. Nathan felt his heart drop at the intensity of her words. This is not how we envisioned co-parenting, and I don't want to lose the progress we've made after everything. As the worry engulfed him, he realized the stakes were high. Can we take a step back? Just breathe for a moment? Perhaps you can show me there's more to the effort. I don't want to lose what we've started. I don't want to do this alone. Veronica's gaze softened, but it quickly hardened again. Fine. Maybe we need some space. I just want us to get through the evening without another fight. With a long silence hanging between them, Nathan finally relented. Okay, he said near quietly. But I want you to remember this. We need to do better than repeating mistakes. It'll hurt Melissa more than either of us realize. The evening continued with a palpable tension lingering between them, but Nathan resolved to keep the focus on their daughter, cheering her on as she twirled with wide smiles. In this moment, as he clapped for Melissa, he clung to the hope that they could still navigate this turbulent path together. Through the dance, the continuing ups and downs at school, and the everyday challenges that lay ahead, Nathan began to see the possibility of redemption, but it required commitment from both of them. And he hoped, come what may, that trust could one day restore the family they desperately sought to build.